Hey, good evening, everybody. I guess y'all can tell by the screen here that I am not Tina Marie Hollywood Natal. I am Gerald C. Anderson Sr. Tina could not be with us here today because of the hurricane down there. So we also want to make sure we keep all the people down there in Florida and Georgia and I think North and South Carolina are being affected now. We want to keep them in our prayers. We're thinking of them. I heard the last report I heard was a couple of 100,000 people are without power. So I want to make sure we include them in our prayers. As one of them we know for sure is our own very own Tina Marie Hollywood Natal. So we're still going to go on tonight. We got 3 powerful guests here for you. I'm excited to talk to them. I've talked to each one of them before. And then, of course, we got an awesome positive media moment coming for you also. So our guest tonight is going to be Vincent Moore. He's a legacy chef from New Orleans. The man can cook. I can't wait to get to New Orleans there to try some of his food. And then we got the sultry sounds of Harmony Devoe. If you haven't heard her music, you're going to be wild because you're going to hear a little clip of it, and then Harmony's going to talk about her music. And hopefully you guys will navigate to wherever it's sold and download some of her music. Then we're going to close out with Kevin R. Anderson, Esquire. And he is a brother that I have known for some 40 years now, and he is going to drop some knowledge on you about police liability. So stay tuned. We got a lot to show you today. We're gonna have some powerful guests, like I said earlier. But before we get started, we're going to talk to Buff Patterson with the Positive Media Moment. Come on, Buff.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to pray for every person that's experiencing the hurricane. And Tina, we love you. Well, I'm Buffy, and I'm with Life's Positive Media Moment. And today, I actually had a couple stories, but I'm going to stick to the script today. And I'm going to tell you, because I'm about to go off script, but I decided I wasn't going to do that. This story is actually coming from Washington, D.C. This is about 2 brothers, Bruce and Glenn Proctor, who are actual designers. Now, what makes them so special is that they came from beyond meager beginnings. They were going to design school. They had to discontinue design school because they ran out of money. But because of a series of haps, they ended up working for the House of Darien through an internship. And then they met Tommy Hilfiger just by accident and Bergdorf Goodman. And from there, I mean, these people, if you ever get a chance to look at some of their designs, it's something I would love to wear. I mean, it's happy inspirations. And they actually moved to LA 2 years ago, and things have been on the rise for them ever since. They've actually started a design ministry for people that in the design world, if you know anything about the design world, it's way off base. And these 2 brothers have a ministry for God. And I don't know if Gerald, you could pull up some of their work.
No.
Of what you cannot pull some of the work up. It's the hurricane. It's the hurricane that's doing it. It's the hurricane. But you have to look. You have to see them. These are 2 positive Black men. They're bringing positivity to the House of Design. Their fashions are happy, bright, colorful. And what I really want to say is how people help people. They've worked with House of Darien. They've worked with Sean Diddy Combs. They've worked with Tommy Hilfiger. They've worked for Oprah. And it just goes to show that when we stick together as one, we become bigger.
Okay. Did you freeze up on? Okay.
I froze up. I'm frozen. but I want you guys to take a look at them. Bruce and Glenn Proctor, twin brothers. They have a house of ministry for design. And if you look at their new designs, they are phenomenal. Hopefully you can get them on the show one day, Gerald. Maybe they can give me the hookup on the fashion. Because it's a personal thing. I like to support all artists, musicians, even chefs are artists because I'm a baby chef. And anyway, that's today's positive life media moment from LA.
Yeah, so somebody, Benita Towns had a question about, do they have a website or Facebook page?
Yes, we're going to Bruce Glenn Designs. Bruce Glenn. They're called Bruce Glenn. And you're gonna be wow. They're amazing. Bruce Glenn.
That's Facebook or their website?
Bruce Glenn on Google. Just Google Bruce Glenn. I'm not sure they're on Facebook, but I know they're on Instagram, and that's how I found them because their colors are, and it being American boys and from DC, woo DC.
From DC.
They're from DC.
They're
from DC, and now they're in LA. Please take a look at their designs. We're bigger in numbers, and you're gonna love what they have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Buff. You always
Wait
have
till you see what next week's positive media moment is. Wait till you see what next week's positive media moment. I'm bringing the heat next week.
Is it me?
I'm bringing the heat.
Is it me? Is it positive media moment? Is it me?
Yes, it's you. It's you. It's always you, Gerald. It's always you. You know, you're always in my mind. You'll make me sing the song.
All right. So thank you, Buff. On the other side of this commercial, we're going to be talking with legacy chef Vincent Moore. He's going to drop some knowledge on us about them outstanding recipes he's got out there in New Orleans. He says it differently. I'll let him say it when he comes on. So let's take a minute here and pay some bills, as what Tina likes to say. So I like to use some of her words. Let's pay some bills. All right. Don't forget to get that summer issue and just go on there and navigate it to our website. We'll post that in the comments so you can pick up that issue. So coming to the stage is Mr. Vincent Moore, the legacy chef from New Orleans. Let's welcome him. How you doing, Mr. Vincent Moore?
I'm doing fine, Joe. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
For everybody out there, that's New Orleans.
I knew you couldn't wait to get that in. Yeah, so that's good. That's good, man. It's good to see you again. We talked a few months ago, and you wowed us on your food, and got us excited about it. So we're gonna take a trip out to New Orleans one of these days and have some of that food. But so tell
that far.
Oh, really?
I can come to you.
All right. We will definitely keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
We were talking before the show about your beginnings. So why don't you tell the people about how you got started?
Yeah, I got started like all good things with my mom.
There you go.
In the kitchen at a very, very young age. And it was through discipline. It wasn't through passion at the time.
All right.
And that was done with two choices. She said, either you can sit down here and watch my series of soap operas, and if you fall asleep, well, you know what's going to come after that. I'm like, yes, I do. And the other thing she said is that you can come in the kitchen with me and be my kitchen helper. And so I made the wise choice. I became the kitchen helper.
There you go. The mamas know how to do it, don't they?
Oh, she sure does. But what I did learn through that whole course of time was that I come from a family, a big legacy family of chefs, going way back generationally. We were the individuals that went back in the times where where there was slavery. We were the ones that came into the houses, the big houses, and cooked for the overseers and all that stuff. And then that kind of passed on through all those different recipes throughout the years, all in New Orleans, and then into the emancipation times, into the modern times, where now it was passed on from one generation to the next. And we called those gatekeepers.
Okay.
And my family is one of the gatekeepers. That's the Julian family, but it also spreads into 3 or 4 other different families, as we are all a group of cousins. And those recipes and techniques, my mother was one of the gatekeepers. My grandfather was one of the most sought after chefs in New Orleans. Back in the 50s and 60s, they bring him in through the back door. He would do all the creation of all the wonderful foods. He would leave out the back door, and the on-duty chef there would get all the credit.
Right.
That was it. It was unfair, but that didn't stop the creativity and all of the wonderful things that got passed on. So my mother, through discipline, for me, I became her apprentice. Through all those years in the kitchen, from discipline to then really elevating myself to where I was the one that was preparing dishes and doing things for the family. And little did I know, all this culinary excellence was being passed on to me. Back in those days, you didn't go to culinary school. They didn't have that. Well, they did have it, but it was mainly for the wealthy, or those that had that kind of connections. But the real chefs were those that were from behind the scenes down south. And so, and it's still that way today. You can talk to some major chefs and they'll tell you, oh yeah, this was the person who influenced my whole life. And I went to culinary school, but I didn't know anything about anything until I met that specific person. Well, that's the lineage of where I come from, just to give you a little background on me.
Okay. And you see, we got a question. With all the chefs, we always get this question: what's your favorite dish to prepare? So, what's your favorite dish to prepare?
Oh, okay. I do have some top ones. There's one that's particular to near and dear to my heart, because that was the first one I did for my mother when she challenged me to go in the kitchen and make me something. And that was a lot of pressure, because at that time I was very young, and it was go and create what was in the kitchen. She didn't tell me what to do. I had to go and do it. And there was no book, no cookbook, none of that. This is the creation time. So what I picked was 2 things that I loved the most, and that was grits and shrimp.
There you go. That's one of my favorite dishes.
I went in there and I creoled that thing up like nobody's business. Came back out. She took a spoonful and said, All right now. That's all she had to say. So I have made different variations. I love to do shrimp and grits because there's so many different ways. If you've seen some of the movies out there, one of them I particularly liked at one time was Forrest Gump, and he's talking about how you can what you can do with shrimp. Well, that's the same thing what you can do with shrimp and grits.
Right. Okay.
There's so many different ways, so many different styles that you can do. So I have like over 30 to 40 different styles of shrimp and grits that I have made throughout the years with the Southern flavor. But one of the things I did start doing was I started taking out the things that you didn't necessarily need that weren't good for the body, but I brought in the things that you could bring in that's good for the body, but not lose that flavor and taste. And of course, I had those people test it out, and guess what? It was flying colors.
All right. So this one is a little variation. It says it's the favorite food to cook with your mother. So was that shrimp and grits as well, or did you have something else that you like to prepare with your mom?
Oh no, there's one thing I love to really cook with my mother, and that was the New Orleans gumbo.
Okay. I really got to get to
Yes.
New Orleans.
Yeah, and if anybody knows about that, you can't do it in one day. It takes a couple of days to get the right thing done. If somebody said they did it in one day, that was the really quick version. But when you're doing it with the family, you're bringing out your gatekeeping recipe, that secret recipe that you won't tell nobody else,
That's
which
right.
we all have. And that's the one that was the favorite moment from with me and my mother, because one, I was able to spend a lot of time with her through those days, not days, because that's the prep work, that's the cleaning, that's all the stuff that comes into doing it. And then at the final moment, being able to have a bowl together and look up at each other and say, uh-huh. So that would be the answer that I could best describe for a dish with my mom.
Okay, so somebody just pointed out that you did an awesome private event. So why don't you tell us about that a little bit?
Oh, yes. Well, there were actually a couple before that, but the most recent one was with a collaboration with a local chef. She didn't like to be called local chef, so I gave her a name that she was happy with, which was a culinary creator. Her name's Nicole Streeter, and this is in Michigan. We had invited some friends and family to come to it. We did some series of hors d'oeuvres. Then I created a whole New Orleans style honey blend with some New Orleans seasoning, which blew everybody's mind. By the way, you'll know more about that. I love to create new and original things. And so they were spreading that over everything.
Okay.
And that event, what we did, we had some special guests. One of them was the executive chefs for the Detroit Pistons. And his name is Damon Banks. And he's also a great friend as well. He actually had a secondary event that he was so late, he wasn't able to make that. So I didn't stop there. I packaged the leftover and brought it the next day and met with him privately. And he said, "Oh my God, I can't believe I missed this. This was so good." And I have that on film, by the way. So you'll be able to see that on my website when we post that up. So that event was an amazing event in Dundee, Michigan. And it was at the Apothecary Kitchen with Nicole Streeter, the culinary creator, as we both came together and did some wonderful creations. And you'll see the menu as well, too.
Right. Now, I know you spent some time overseas when you was in the military. We was talking about the Air Force days. You know, you both was in the Air Force. And actually, this show has a military feel to it, because we got it seems like me and all the guests here have some kind of connection with the Air Force or with the military. So you and I were both in the Air Force. So tell us about your experience with the Air Force when you went overseas and then you came back to be a chef. I think that time overseas had an impact, right?
Yeah, it had a huge impact. You know, it was one of those things when you travel outside of your home country to another country all by yourself, don't know anyone, there's a whole cultural door that opens up. So that was one of the biggest things the military brought in my life, was the exposure to the other cultures. So when I arrived over there and was doing my military thing, I also had an opportunity to build friendships and relationships with those people that were over there. And one of the biggest things that they are huge upon is hospitality. So they have you over the house and they say, hey, they would make things for you and treat you like a king. But I was already showing up with a pot of food. And they're like, what? We're supposed to be the ones to treat you.
Right.
And then they tried the food that I brought them, and I brought them Southern dishes. They never experienced, taste anything like that in their entire lives. It blew their minds. And then they opened up the door for me on what they called their beers, which we call here craft beers because they make them over there. It's not something that is bought in the store. They actually make that stuff. So
Right.
I said, I'm not into that. And they said, well, just go ahead and take a sip. So I did. Immediately in my brain, it said, if I use to cook with this, I cook out the alcohol and I leave this wonderful seasoning that this is made from, which is all natural ingredients. I did not know that. And so that was the start of my journey of learning about there's more to this. And so that seed was planted there for that. And I was cooking with it while I was over there, different types of barbecue things and all kinds of other things. And that was the start of me saying, hey, this is something that I can just do recreationally wise.
Okay. Okay. And that's sort of how Taste the Craft came about, or?
Yeah, it was the seed that was planted
Okay.
because it always stayed in my mind that, hey, why isn't anyone doing anything with this? But what I found was when I came back to the United States, there wasn't really a whole lot known about that style of beer, crafted beers.
Right.
It was the store-bought stuff. And
Okay.
that you can, but it won't really bring out a lot in the flavoring of your foods, unfortunately, because it's not all natural ingredients. So there was a culture going on at the time when I came back in the 80s and didn't know about it. And that was in California. I was right there and I didn't even know it.
Okay.
And so my buddy said the first thing to me, you need to try this. And I tasted it. I said, oh, this tastes just like the stuff that I had when I was overseas. And he said, see, I told you. And so that became the next level of, okay, now maybe I could find something that I could start cooking with here to do that. So I was still at that point doing it recreationally at that point.
All right. So we got a question here that says, do you also bake specialty cakes for events?
Specialty cakes. Right now, I'm into the pies and into the certain type of like cream desserts. Like I'll do creme brulee, and I do that with a specific cream ale. And then I've done my cherry sweet potato, and there's a third one. You're waiting for it. Butternut squash.
Okay.
All three blended together in with the homemade gluten-free flour. So I make the crust. And so I want to make it healthy, but I also want to make it so where you cannot leave your plate.
Right.
And so I have made that for so many people, and they cannot believe that it is gluten-free and that it tastes so good and that it has the deep flavor and that it should. So I have been experimenting with all different types of those styles of desserts. Now, cakes, that's coming. That's the next one. I'll be working on those.
Okay. And then do you have your recipes somewhere, like on your website or something?
Oh, I definitely have the recipes on my website. I have even better. I have an actual video that kind of shows you me in my regular kitchen with the things that you would normally have in your kitchen. So you're not having to go out there and buy anything fancy. You can make it with what you got in your kitchen and be able to utilize that. And once you watch the video, you decide that that's what you would like to have. We have the recipes there as well. You just subscribe, you get a library access for a small fee. And then I'm adding on to that library each season. So each season, more types of creations that I am doing, you get access to that you can try and share with your family and friends. Take it from that point and you can make that your own. That's why I designed it. It's a legacy. It's to bring family, friends together. It can be healing. At the same time, it also can be a whole lot of fun because when I cook with music.
All right. All right. So Burl Brackett asked, do you take mail orders?
Mail orders. Well, not online yet. I've been asked to actually create a specific box of different creations with spices in it. So that way you have the recipe, you get the spices in it. You can then therefore go to your favorite stores, get the ingredients that I suggest to get. Go down to your favorite winery or brewery to pick up what you need if you want to cook with your libations. And that recipe tells you when and where to put it in and all that. I've been asked to do that. Right now, I'm on the video stage. I have a lot of things I'm doing. I'm being asked to do private parties. So I, at the right circumstances, able to come to those events and do that for the intimate, small, private party. So there's a lot of things in the works. And thank you, because of your previous summer edition that I was featured in. I'm getting all kinds of calls.
All right. That's what we like to hear.
Yes.
So Lala Castro asked, what's on the menu for tonight's dinner?
Ooh, what's on tonight's dinner? Well, tonight's dinner is my waterless cabbage.
Okay. Tell us about that a little.
This is a perfect season time for really great cabbage from the garden. I'm not talking about store-bought. I'm talking about homegrown. And that what's special about the waterless cabbage is not made with water. Everything, all ingredients is done in one pot, layered, seasoned, and it's cooked in one pot. Takes you less than 20 to 25 minutes, and it's on your plate, and you are having a delicious time. So I guarantee that.
All right. Well, he's a couple people have asked. You don't actually have a restaurant, right? You're in New Orleans, but you don't have a restaurant, but you have the recipes and stuff, and you will do catering events. Is that correct? Am I saying that right?
Well, there's two things for the restaurant. I had thought about that for years. I'm like, everyone's telling me, Vince, get a restaurant. I said, there's just got to be a way where I can do it, where I'm able to include others, because for me, it's a relationship as well as, you know, just being able to share what I do. And so I want you to be able to experience it, you to be able to make it and do it within your home, so you can create that whole lineage of your own in friendships and with family. So that's kind of really where my passion lies within that. And, you know, eventually, yeah, I'll probably have the restaurant, because I'm getting so many people saying I should have it. Maybe I get a food truck or something. It's like keeping mobile at least.
Right. But those videos are on your website, and I put your website there on the screen.
Yes. And then there was a second part to what you had asked me. I got wrapped up in this. What was that second part? Oh,
it was just the restaurant itself, you know. Do you do catering? You do catering for people,
but catering. For the catering, I had started doing different things. I had weddings. I've had a wedding at my house where we had over 100 plus people at the house, and I did that. And I said, you know what? I'm like, I'd rather do the private parties, because the private parties you can have maybe about 40, 50 people. It's more intimate. You create those really special dishes. Everybody is not certain what you're going to bring, but they're surprised because they know what you're going to bring is going to just totally knock the socks off. So I've gotten a lot of demand for that. And it allows me to have time to interact with everyone as well, too. So at this point, I'm doing a lot of private events, meaning that if it's for a special occasion for someone and you want to invite intimate people to that, then we talk about that size of group, and then we work out that so that it's the best experience for you, your family, friends, as well as the right menu to be able to bring forward to really make it special.
All right. That sounds great. So I appreciate you being able to join us tonight. You know, I know we connected a couple of months ago, and like you mentioned, the summer issue does have his full story in detail. So if you pick that up, you'll be able to read about Vincent's story. It's a great story. You know, he's got more into it than we were able to share here tonight. But visit his website, tastethecraft.net, and you can get those videos and start making some of them dishes. And, you know, we're going to stay in touch, because we're definitely going to hook up, and so I can taste some of that food. But I appreciate you being on with us tonight. Thank you, Vincent.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here, and thank you for all that you do as well.
All right. So we're going to have another commercial, And then on the other side of that commercial, we're going to talk to my good friend and singer. You're going to get to hear her sing some for us. And it's going to be Harmony Devoe. So let's get this commercial in and get back so we can talk to Harmony.
Have you always dreamed of writing a book, but you're not sure where to start? Have you always dreamed of writing a book, but you're not sure where to start? Or maybe you've already written a book, but you don't know how to get it published? Don't worry, you're not alone. Self-publishing can be daunting, but it doesn't have to be. That's where Lyfe Publishing comes in. We're a full-service self-publishing company that can help you every step of the way, from formatting to distribution. We can even point you in the right direction for editing and marketing your book. With Lyfe Publishing, you can finally share your story with the world. We'll work with you to create a book that you're proud of, and we'll help you get it in front of readers. So what are you waiting for? Start your self-publishing journey today with Lyfe Publishing. Visit our website or give us a call to learn more.
All right. Speaking of Lyfe Publishing, we just had a new author drop her book today. It's called $1 Million Club. So if you go to Amazon and look up $1 Million Club, it's a great book. You should check it out. So before we get to Harmony, we're going to have the Lyfe shout outs. Since it's only me, we're going to shout out one of my good friends, her and her husband. It's their birthday today. They are great people. It's Gerald and Glennis Albright. It's their birthday today. Yes, they were born, their husband and wife born on the exact same day in the exact same year. So the exact same age. It's a great story. And they're going to be able to share it with us at some point on the Lyfe Live as well. But Gerald and Glennis Albright, we appreciate you. We appreciate everything you've done for the Lyfe Magazine, and we're shouting you out. Happy birthday. Hope you enjoy your day. Now we're going to show you a clip of Harmony Devoe. And then on the other side of that clip, we're going to bring Harmony on and talk to her.
Just one more time. You're on my mind every day and every night. My every thought is you. The things you do seem so satisfying to me. I must confess it was my life. Yeah, you said chills of the sun and time I think one look at you. Ooh, and my life. Yeah.
Why are you playing?
Oh, girl. You always sound good to me, though. So, hey,
Thank you, Gerald. I love the bars. That's some good R&B right there. And the
Yeah,
first song was
yeah.
Forever My Boo. That was my song, my original.
That's your song.
Yes. Thank you for having me. And shout out
thank
to
you.
Lyfe Magazine and to the Lyfe. I love the platform and everything you are doing. And thank you for definitely taking time to share my music and about me with the world. I support you 100%. I love you so much.
Well, I thank you for being here because even in the midst of a hurricane, you're here joining us tonight. So, I really appreciate that. So,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah.
All is well. Some people aren't faring too well in the storm, but I did fine. So I'm good. There's no damage, and I have power.
There you go.
That's a blessing. Yes,
There
thank
you
you.
go. So why don't you start out by telling the people a little bit about yourself, where you're from?
Well, of course, my mother's womb originally. Yes, I was born from my mom, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, by way of Tampa, Florida. I currently live in Tampa, Florida. And I've kind of been Floridianized. I've lived in Tampa about 10 years, and overall, the state itself, a total of maybe 17. So I got, I'm from Detroit. I love going home when it's warm. I'm allergic to cold weather and snow. I just don't do, cold months. I don't like all four seasons. So technically, you could say I'm in Tampa, Florida as well. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. So how did you get into the music industry?
Oh God, the music industry found me at a very young age. I was a church girl, born and raised in church, Baptist church. My mother had me and my brother in church. I was classically trained musician. I was a pianist, and I directed the choir, and I did praise and worship teams, and I sang in the choir. And then later on in life, when I was married, we would teach choirs my music. And I thought I was going to be a gospel artist. And I started with a girls group, and about 6 of us in our girls group. And I believe I was the only one that knew secular music. So we were trying to cross over, but we wanted a gospel tune. So lo and behold, I selected All God's Love as All This Love, DeBarge. Then I went into the studio and did a demo. And that's how I pretty much got started. Shout out to my girl, Jackie Glenn, who pushed me up front. Because I'd be like, oh, you hear Mary J. Blige? I love her. She's like, you can sing too, just like her. Not better. Get your butt up there and sing. So I was all shy, believe it or not. And I wanted to be a songwriter, a published songwriter, which I am. But I never thought I would be on the front of the stage. I was not, no. I thought I wanted the fortune, not the fame from it all. But when my ex-husband pushed me up front in the band and I was able to perform live, I fell in love with the crowd. I fell in love with entertaining. So it's pretty cool. I'm a little raspy now from singing from Sunday. So it's
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. Love it.
So we got a question that asking where are your shows in Tampa?
I'm all over Tampa. I even performed in Jamaica. That's why I get the tag now international. I got to perform in the Grill in Montego Bay. I'm at Haiku Tampa like every other Sunday. I'm at Morgan Mays in Tarpon Springs. It pretty much is where I'm hired. I promote. People can go on my social media pages. If you're on Instagram, go to Harmony_Devoe. If you're on Facebook, look up my artist page, Harmony Devoe artist. Is Harmony Devoe artist. So you could go on my website to harmonydevoeofficial.com and check it out. I'm real versatile and able to get in contact with, but I pretty much am all over. I do private gigs as well, and all that good stuff. So we got a lot of questions. I love that, Jerry.
Yeah. What's your favorite song to sing?
Mine. Which are we referring to cover tunes of other artists, or are we referring to my music? Because with my music, I love Forever My Boo. One of my favorites. If you go on my YouTube page, you'll see all my music videos, Harmony Devoe Official. You'll see Forever My Boo. I am the one who did the first music video with D9 Greeks, well, Omega Psi-Phi. And I'm seeing all of the other artists come out, like Sierra has a new one with the Kappas, and Fantasia has some out with her sorors, SG Row, and I'm a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta. But you'll see that video first and several other videos after that. So Forever My Boo is my absolute favorite. And then my song, Your Piano, which was my baby. That's my baby. I love that song. That's one of my best writings. I'm a metaphoric as a writer. Gerald, you know about that. I absolutely love it. I see a shout out to Gerald, if you don't mind. That's my girl, Renitris Taylor. She's one of the original members of the gospel group I was in.
All right.
We started together, so she knows about my humble beginnings. We went to church together. I love you, Renitris. I love my sorors for tuning in and supporting. But yeah, Renitris, that's my girl. And that girl sing like Suge from The Color Purple. She would shut the whole down. Then there was Mellow Me. So
Like another one of your sisters, another one of your sisters on too. Our
I
Flowers.
see Sora Rhonda. What up, though, Sora? Yeah, Tampa Alumni Chapter is in the house. I love my Soras here in Tampa. I was made in Ohio, and then like I said, I've been here 10 years, and my Soras are amazing. So thank you all for being a part of the show and supporting R&B music and indie artists, and Gerald using this platform so we could get some exposure. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Lala Castro asked, "What's your go-to song when you're having me time and just feel like singing?"
And honestly, I'm a worship girl. So Marvin Sapp, Fred Hammond, my homie, I like to worship. So it gets me in a good mood. I'm listening to it all the time. When I'm prepping for shows, I love Mary J, Jill Scott. I even do Eurythmics. I'm kind of versatile and eclectic when it comes to my music. Carrie Underwood. So it really depends on the mood I'm in. When I'm doing photo shoots, because I'm a model and I do acting, it's usually very like Johnny Gill 12, that kind of thing. Put on your red dress. I gotta be in the mood to be taking pictures and stuff. So I love, love, love R&B. R&B is not dead. I'm R&B through and through. I am R&B. I'm lyricism in motion. So hey, I don't know no other way to be. Okay.
All right. So I want you, since you brought that up just now, explain what lyricism in motion is to the people.
Lyricism in motion is my tag, trademark stamp. You can't take it, by the way. But what it means is I'm a metaphoric lyricist. I come from the origin of poetry. I started off as a poet back in high school, and that developed into the songwriting skills. So I write metaphorically, and I like to merge metaphoric words with melodic sounds, and that's what I defined as lyricism in motion. Also floeticism. I make up words. I'm a writer, like you, Gerald. Thank you. Shout out to Gerald. Get his books. Look him up and Google him too. It's about dual exposure. Don't play, because I got his books too.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah, we really got into that lyricism emotion thing.
Yes.
In our first interview a couple of years ago. In case y'all didn't know, Harmony was on the cover of the fall 2020 issue.
Was it 2020 or 2022?
2020. 2022 was just last year.
I keep thinking it was a year ago. Look, COVID, I lost 3 years, Gerald. I know I got a life size of your magazine in my house. Yeah.
Yeah, 2020. It had to be 2020. It had to be 2020. So yeah. That was an awesome issue. We had a great
right there. Yeah,
there you go. Put it on the screen. So.
I gotta walk away to do it.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
It's right over there on my little table, right up front. It's a cute little magazine cover too. Right. I keep it.
Tell us about the first song that you wrote and released and everything yourself. Tell us about that experience.
My first song was my favorite song, which is My Baby. It's called Your Piano Remix. Actually, the remix is when I first did Your Piano, I wrote it many years ago as a poem. And I had a very difficult time because I would get other artists to sing my music. I really wasn't tapped into my voice or my confidence to sing. I'm used to singing in choirs and in the alto section. So as I built that confidence up, Your Piano was my first and my baby. And I had the fortunate opportunity to work with world renowned. And he's blown up totally now. Nathan Mitchell, he's really, really popular in the contemporary jazz world and all over the world now, and been nominated for some awards and NAACP awards. I'm very proud to have worked with him and known him. And that was the first time I actually worked in the studio recording with him here in Tampa. Right. Prior to that, as a writer, I was humbled to work with a profound instrumentalist, Michael Mendengal and Michael J. Powell from Anita Baker's camp and Aretha Franklin's camp. He's a phenomenal guitarist, self-taught, God rest in heaven to him. But I was able to write 3 songs on their artist project, Lori King, out of Detroit. And that's when the R&B part of me started coming out. And then I worked with artists like Kaya here, some gospel artists here as well. So again, it just kind of took off. So when I came to Tampa, I was going around promoting Lori's project and the songs I wrote on it because they were like, we want to keep the background vocals because that's all I wanted to do was background. And they were like, who's singing in the background? And I was like, that's me. And they were like, you need to put out your own song. So that was Your Piano. And then instantly I got an award for Your Piano, Independent Artist Award. And it's a musician fan favorite, really. Because if you understand music theory and the words metaphorically, you will understand when I'm saying, I wish I was your piano. I'll let you softly stroke my keys, staccato on my eighth notes. You will understand stuff like that. So it's pretty dope. That's my favorite song.
Okay. So what was the best song that you know, as far as in the industry, the highest ranking song?
My song, highest ranking, The
your
View.
song.
They love The View. My song, The View 2020, they love The View. That song pushed me out of my comfort zone, and we shot it actually during COVID. And here's a fun fact. The night before I shot that music video, and you can see it on my YouTube on Harmony Devoe Official, I had a head-on collision in my car the night before, and I was unconscious. I didn't even know I was in an accident. And the first thing I thought of was, the devil is a lie. We shooting this video. Shout out to my videographer, Alan Johnson, because I called him like, we shooting this video. He was like, Harmony, you were just in a head-on collision. We got to shoot the video. The View by far was the best. And shout out to Joey Ocean of Pens Deep, who worked with me diligently on that song in the studio at Ben Street Studios, or with my girl Susan Maida as well, owner of Ben Street Studios. We had an amazing time, and that was I get more feedback on that one outside of anything. And when you fall out of love, because people falling out of love all the time, they love that video. During COVID, when people been confined together and married and falling apart, and we all got some dysfunctional in us. So people like that arguing in that particular video, and they like that the male Dwight Gifford, aka Jakeem, put me out of the house. So they like that one.
We was talking about that in the studio before the show started. So what you got? What do you have going on right now?
Right now, I'm in a hurricane, so thank God it has passed. No, right now, I'm always writing. Always, that never stops. You know, when you're going through things like hurricanes and life like that, you have a tendency to be able to write more. Even when you have writer's block, you know, when you're going through stuff, you write. That's where most of my good gospel comes from. So I've been doing more writing for other artists. And I'd like to long term, I'm trying to merge more into getting musicians employed under my company, J3 Lyricology LLC, and taking it to the road on a tour and to next level as far as me as an entertainer. I want to travel all over the world and entertain, whether that's cruise ships, Dubai, whatever. I'm ready to get on the road and do that. We've been consumed with the COVID pandemic, shut down, work, corporate, and life's just too short. I enjoy engaging and being with the crowd. And I'm so humbled when the crowd loves my music and walks up to me and says, you know what, you need to be out there and on a label. Well, I got my own label. Industry is interesting. So I want musicians to get paid. I think musicians are so underrated and underpaid, especially in this town. And so I'm ready to get them working and get some work. And if other, you know, people can do it and promoters, why can't I as a Black woman?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yes, sir. So that's what I have going on right now. But if someone calls and says, listen, let's go on tour, we want you to open up, I'm going to do that. But I do perform locally and internationally. If anyone wants to reach out, you know, book an agent or contact them and follow up. But I really want to work on more of the boss side of it, you know, and employ others and pass this on and help them out as well.
And do you have any shows scheduled right now?
I do. Haiku Tampa is every other Sunday for me. And then Morgan Mays, I'm on Friday. I think in 2 weeks I'll be at Morgan Mays as well. And those are local shows. I have nothing outside of Tampa at this very moment, but it's coming. It's coming. We manifesting it. But outside of working corporate as well, I do a bunch of things. You know, it's all about the grind and getting paid and being successful, which we all are trying to do. Every morning you wake up, you got a chance to do it all over again. So that simply means my purpose has not been fulfilled. And so whatever we can do to support each other, build as a community, as a people, and succeed like others have done, why
Right.
can't we do it? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. So over the years, I think you performed quite a bit over the years. What was the favorite performance you ever gave? You know, what wowed you when you walked off the stage? Say, man, I did that.
I think when I was in Jamaica, to be
Okay.
honest with you, and that was just this May. I
Mhm.
was able to perform in the Grill in Montego Bay, and that was just a very humbling uh, experience for me to have people bobbing heads with me and feeling the music.
Mhm.
Anytime I do a show and I sing Forever My Boo or my music and they're like feeling it, it just does something to an artist. Or if they're singing along with you, you know, your words, you know, they come from inside of you, your creativity. So
Right.
to see people receive that and be receptive, you know, it's just very humbling. But Montego, Jamaica was probably great. It was
Okay.
probably the best. The
Okay.
best.
Now
Yeah.
we've talked about Harmony, the on stage and the studio, the writer and stuff. But Harmony is also a mom with two boys, right? And that
I have two little kings. Well, they're not necessarily little no more.
they're not little.
And I see Sora's comment. Yes, I receive, manifest, and I appreciate everything, every little blessing. You know, when somebody gives you a
Mhm.
comment, it just, you got to stay humble. I see so many artists, major label artists as well, we have put them on. We have gotten them to that platform, and then they act nasty. And that's just not me. That'll never be me. You know,
Right.
I can't operate like that. But yes, I am a mother.
Mhm.
I'm a single mother. That was, you know, a long, long time ago. And I have two boys, and they are my everything. And I grind in my company and everything. Every copyright, every trademark, everything is for them to leave a legacy for my Black sons, so
Yeah.
they can have. So yes, sir, I do
Yeah.
have them. And one is serving our country in the
Yeah.
United States Navy. And shout out and thanks of service to you and our Air
Mhm.
Force veterans and all of our veterans out there. I did write a song called America So Strong, um, which is available on all platforms too. I wanted to shout out our military and our essential workers as well who were impacted by COVID. And
Right.
I just got so many good songs. I love me. That was it right there. That was the performance, Gerald, that you asked me about.
Okay.
I think that was it.
Okay.
And Jamie Johnson, a Black man, wrote that song. That was the first song
Mhm.
I did. I didn't write, but to do that video and to sing that
Mhm.
song was very powerful for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it meant something. Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to say I know that you've done a great job with those two boys. I see that they're doing great things, and I know that they're going to do even greater things as they go along. So you got another
Yeah.
question here that says, do you use backup singers yourself?
It depends on the budget, Miss Miller. It depends on the budget, the venue, where we are. If I'm on a road, if it's a big show and they have the budget for it, yes, I use background singers. If they have a low budget, I try to work with people. You know, you got to understand your value and your worth. And I think so many times too, especially locally, it depends. You have to go with the demographics of the area too. So you have people, and I think that might be, you tell me, Joe, some people all over lowball and do things like that. You have to know your value and your worth. I'll choose if I accept a gig or not for low or other. If there's a budget in place, I'm using background singers all
Mhm.
day. I'm using a full band versus a duo or a trio. So I have a rate sheet and things of that nature that I share. And there are some gigs that I would do because I'm cool with the musicians or whatever, because those are like family to me. And I believe in supporting each other. We'll win that way.
Okay. And how do you typically put that information out when you are looking for people, backup singers, musicians?
Well, they can easily, if they're interested in working with me, first and foremost, go to the website. Go to harmonydevoeofficial.com. And when you
Mhm.
go on the website, you'll see for booking or contact information. If you want to know more, you can email music at harmonydevoeofficial.com. And again, you can easily follow me on social media and inquire with me there, and people will be in contact with you. Harmony_Devoe is Instagram. Everything Harmony Devoe, at Harmony Devoe on TikTok, Harmony Devoe I'm Harmony Devoe. So just Google me. Google me. I have one link. I always post, I always promote. But if you are interested in working with me, I'd love that. But it definitely depends on the venue and on the dates and what comes up. We have a festival coming up in October. I believe it's October 7th. I have to look at my calendar for mental health. This happening in the area as well. My band and I will be there. I also have my band, The Melodic, which is me, a Delta, and all Qs, which is pretty cool because they're all military too, Army, Marine, and that's pretty unique. And we do private gigs as well. So, it really depends. I'm a boss first. She's a boss first. She's a CEO and a boss first.
There you go.
Actually, I'm a mama first. I'm God's child. Then I'm a mama. Then I'm a boss. Then I'm a singer. But I'll always be a songwriter. So if that answers your question. I do it all. Vlog show too. Harmony Devoe, Grown Woman Talk too. So I do it all. Look me up.
All right. Well, I thank you for being here with us tonight. I appreciate you taking time out to have a little chat with us today. I know you had some situations going on down there in Florida, but you still stepped out and spent some time to talk with us. I appreciate that.
Always for you, Gerald. Always for life. Always for the life. You know what I'm saying? Always. And I appreciate you as well. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the questions and those who participated, during the interview. I'm staying tuned. I'm locked in. I'm loving the show tonight.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good one. Okay.
All right. You too. Bye-bye. All right. So we got another commercial coming up. And then on the other side of this commercial, we will also be doing this week's Life Poetry Corner. It was brought to us by Jason McGriff. So commercial first, and then we will have a poetry corner by Jason McGriff. Hi, I'm Gerald C. Anderson Sr., co-host of the Lyfe Live. The Lyfe Live is the voice and soul of the people, and when the people speak, we listen. Thanks to feedback from our viewers, we're branching out with a new initiative to support youth authors and the Lyfe Live show. Through an application and selection process, the Inspiring Youth Authors program will provide publishing packages absolutely free to youth authors who have not been sponsored previously through the initiative and are aged 8 to 18. Your donations totaling $500, along with the complimentary services of the Lyfe Publishing, will enable one child to achieve dreams they previously thought unattainable. In appreciation, all donations of $100 or more will be acknowledged by our bi-weekly radio show. Donations of $500 or more will be acknowledged on the show and in our printed publication, the Lyfe Magazine. Thank you in advance for partnering with us to inspire our youth. Visit www.thelifelive.com for more information. And yes, this is a new initiative that we have come about that I have recently had a conversation with a 16-year-old who was interested in publishing her book, but she did not have the funds to be able to do so. So this got me to thinking is how can we give back to the community and have these teenagers, youth rather, 8 to 18, be able to publish their books, because we have some real creative people. I know some teachers who have seen some of the writings of some of these young people, and they're great. They're great books that can be published out there. So we want to try and help them, and we asking you to help us help them as well, because we like to see these books get out there and let these kids know that they can publish a book and become a published author. I know when I was 16 years old, like the young lady I spoke to, I never thought it was possible. No one ever educated me on the ability to be able to do that. And so now we're trying to provide a platform and an initiative, a way for kids to be able to publish their books. And so we like to just ask you to help us out with that. If you go to thelifelive.com, you can donate today. Thank you. Next, we're going to have the Poetry Corner. It's by Jason McGriff, and it's called Daddy Daughter Ride Out.
Quick glances in rearview mirror show no return path for eye contact. So I lay my eyes on silk scarf that lay, on perfectly laid lemonade braids and edges, an 8-year-old with Doc McStuffins' purse and wedges, carrying attitude, gift cards, and lip gloss just for a juvenile's lips to pop so she can pop her tiny fingers to auto-tune rhythm and blues, which has no clue because the soul has been trapped and swiped out. Because you see, this is a daddy-daughter ride-out. And the protocol for a daddy-daughter ride-out is shoulder taps and turn up that track and can we talk dads? And my response is usually, yes, sweet pea. My term of endearment for her, sweet chocolate kisses and occasional bed wetting. But you see, this platform was created for my little brown princess to be the jet setter who is jet setting who's now awakening from a snack-infused nap. Upset that social media was being mean, said that someone made her into a meme and she couldn't clap back to a Snapchat, but now clapping her hands in stolen hood antics in which she has only seen on reality TV. Says that she is deleting everyone that is in the second grade because now she is in that one that starts with a 3. But the daddy in me tells her to blow that nose and to cut out them sniffs. You want to delete something? Well, delete those mucus drips and that drama should be skipped like ropes and kicked like balls. And why are you hugging that iPhone and that tablet instead of your baby dolls? And I got to think that maybe the sugar and the spice and everything nice must have been replaced with thumbs ups, viral likes, and a hearty applause. And that's a very hard pill to swallow when you realize that your parenting has been playing a losing game of tug of war with real fake reality. Because you see, she has had 5,000 social media friends ever since she was 3. But between you and me, the only reason she has a social media page is because she is really 45 and still pursuing her modeling dreams. But you ain't heard that from me. I mean, she can't even write in cursive. Becomes pretty darn close to cursing. So even if I say, what did you say? A denial, a giggle, a daddy, you so silly, makes her all perfect to me. Because my princess has had me wrapped since I am the first to see her crowning. But now I believe that I am the reason that she is clowning because alphabetically, she believes that an L should always be crossed with a B. And after the letters E and F, that there should be a double G. That Chanel is the only word that starts with a C. So I'm pointing at one finger, but in return, I'm receiving the 3. So I proceed to teach her that social media and high-priced fashion were designed to blind third eyes. And her reply was simply, Daddy, I just wanted some vanilla ice cream. And I know it may have been a little too deep, but I do believe in feeding the subconscious and the unconscious consciously. So it's a double shot of chocolate for me, which prompts her to ask, well, Daddy, why don't you like white people? And I tell her it's not that I don't like white people. It's just that I can still taste some of the sprinkles of evil that still linger. That even though I only speak one language around certain people, I have to be bilingual. So I proceed to teach her that it's not all white people, just the ones that think it's okay to come from one country to another just to steal the land, travel to a whole nother continent just to steal the people. So I proceed to teach her that monopoly isn't just a game and that the projects were first the project. So now that land that blacks are on and do not own, well, that's considered garbage. But when whites steal it back, well, it returns with a historical tag. And then all of that comes back with a huge profit. And all of that's determined by who's cornering the market because gentrification is just the manifestation of the monopolization. So now we're receiving a beautiful shift in the conversation. It is my first heartbeat, Jasmine, named for the love of jazz, jazzy spices and recipes. Because you see, back in the day when I was a little younger, well, my daddy-daughter ride out went just a little differently. It was a little trip to the mall or the zoo, and that was about it. So now I'm wishing that I could return to the genesis of this daddying because I was riding around with wool pulled over ice, with gin poured over ice. But now I share more terms of endearment and adult advice like, baby, don't you know that hair, nails, and makeup will eat your cake up? Never return to an ex after a serious breakup because your sexing and your loving is not for the ones that are coming, but for the ones that are staying to the very end. So invest in an acre of land and some stock options instead of a man because it'll appreciate and later on you'll appreciate it. And I get the usual. and okay, daddy, I love you, a goodbye, flick. And our daddy-daughter ride out ends with me tucking my little princess in. I kiss her cheek, whisper in her ear that there will be another daddy-daughter ride out again next weekend where I will proceed to teach her. I am Jason Howells the first. That piece is called Daddy-Daughter Ride Out. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Jason, for that. Now next we're gonna have Kevin R. Anderson Esquire on the schedule. So Kevin and I go way back to the 80s when we were in the Air Force together, and we worked in the legal office together. So we've known each other for a very long time. And no, we're not blood related brothers, but we are brothers in spirit and in soul. So Kevin is he's got a lot of knowledge. He's an attorney on police liability. You're going to really want to hear that. If you want to know how your sons should handle the police, sons and daughters should handle the police, this is the man to ask. Now is the time to ask your questions. So welcome to the screen, Mr. Kevin R. Anderson Esquire.
Gerald
Hey.
Senior, my God, man, you are a man of many hats, man. You wear so many hats, man. You're doing movies, you're writing books, you're a publisher, man. You have a variety show. You name it, you're doing it, man. So, man, I'm so proud of you, Gerald, man. Thank you for allowing me an opportunity to be on your show.
Hey man, we need to spread this kind of information around to people, and there's nobody better and more knowledgeable, in my opinion, to be able to do that than you, Kevin. So we're glad to have you on here, and I have something to show the people first before you get started.
All right,
so,
great.
Let's see this here. This is the very first issue of the Lyfe Magazine, and you see who's on it, right? Mr. Kevin R. Anderson was the very first person on the Lyfe Magazine cover, and now we're 50 issues in, and now we get to have him on our show. So thank you, Kevin, for being the first, and thank you for being on the show tonight. So,
well, I appreciate being the first person on the magazine. That magazine is actually framed and in my mother's home in our living room in Virginia.
Awesome.
And, I mean, it's everyone knows that magazine came from you, and that was kind of like your coming out party. I just can't tell you how happy I am to see how well you're doing, and I know you're going to do even greater things. But I want to tell the people a little bit about us, man, because it said that we go way back. Well, this is how far we go back. So Gerald and I, we were in the Air Force together, and we were both assigned to the same office. And when I say same office, I mean literally we were in the same room. We had a desk that faced each other, and we were about probably 6 feet apart from each other, looking at each other's face like every day. And so, we both had aspirations and dreams. And Gerald, he was looking at playing a piano. He wanted to write a book, and he was writing a book then. And he just kept saying, "Yeah, I'm writing a book."
You froze up on him.
Gerald, are you serious? And I'm telling Gerald, man, I'm going to go to school, man. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get out. I'm going to get out the military. I'm going to start a career, man. I want to go to law school. I want to do this. And so ultimately, we both left the military. Well, I left first. I actually bailed out on Gerald. Gerald hung in there a little longer than I did. And we were separated for some time. But when we finally reunited, we both compared our notes, and we both saw that whatever we aspired to do, we accomplished. And man, I just, I had the pleasure of going to an opening night for Gerald's movie. I believe it was called Standing Firm over in Tampa. And so my wife and I, we drove over, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to be great. And I can't tell you how proud I am of you, Gerald, how good the movie was, how good the book is. And it seems like every couple of months you're coming out with a new book, man, and you're changing lives with that publishing company. So, man, I really give you your props there.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. I think this is one of your people, right, Erica?
Absolutely, she's a lawyer in our office, and she's worked with you and I actually for a bit.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So tell us about police liability. What exactly does that mean? Because we as normal people, and I say normal meaning not lawyers, don't really hear that particular term. But I think once you explain it, I think people will understand what you're talking about. So tell us what police liability is.
Fantastic. Sure. Police liability is kind of a reactive and a proactive response to criminal justice issues. And some of these issues that we deal with are things like false arrest, excessive force, search and seizure issues, something known as malicious prosecution, victimization. And as a criminal lawyer, and that's what I started out as, I saw a need to address some of the things that happened to people that needed to stop. And, people get arrested all the time. And when they're arrested, there's an aftermath that they have to deal with. There's an expungement or a sealing that gets that event off of their records. And then sometimes these people need to sue a police officer or a police agency for an event that should have never happened to begin with. And a lot of lawyers are afraid to go up against the municipality, the police agency, or the officers themselves. And when these clients are looking for folks, I wanted to be that guy in my community who they could go to and they could rely on to file these lawsuits or to be that mediator on their behalf. Excessive force, big thing. Of late, we've seen people who have been shot, people have been beaten, people have been thrown to the ground with broken bones. You name it, it's happening out there. And again, they needed someone, a firm to go to who knew how to do these cases and who had the courage to stand up to law enforcement when these events happen. It required a specialty. I'm a criminal defense lawyer, but in addition, the police liability cases deal with civil law. So I had to kind of know where the holes were in the criminal justice cases. I had to know the police agency. I had to know the lingo. And I had to understand some of the more difficult concepts that go into suing a police agency or a police officer for doing things that they ought not do to human beings. So that's in a nutshell kind of where I stand with that particular area of the law. So, and I hope I'm not getting too technical here, but that's two of the areas that exist in the field.
Okay. But, as African-American men, especially, we run into this a lot with the police sometimes, and we see the cases that make national news, but when I talked to you a while back, there are a lot more cases that are going on that don't make the national news. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. How about like driving while black?
Right.
When you're getting pulled over and for whatever reason, a police officer wants to get in the vehicle because for whatever reason, they just think you're riding dirty, as they say. Mm-hmm. And they just make up stuff. Those are bad searches. Those are problems. And there is redress for that.
So what should a young man do when they're stopped by the police and they suspect that they didn't do anything wrong?
So the first thing that they need to do is keep their cool and not break bad. Never consent to a search. Never. I don't care what's going on. The answer is no, and no. You're never going to help me help you by agreeing that it's okay to search your car. All right.
But don't they tell you that you have to agree though?
No, they may say that, but I'm telling you now.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They'll get you out there and they'll say, well, you have to consent to this search. Is that? But you're saying no, you don't have to consent to that search, right?
Absolutely, I'm saying that you don't. And in fact, what you'll hear is, well, things will go a lot better. If you just tell me now, I already know. Or how about this one? I'm going to bring the canine. And And if I find, something and you're lying to me, man, hey, it's going to be that much worse for you. Man, the answer is no, no, and no. Because trust me, if they can get in your car, they don't need your consent. If they're asking you to do something, it's because they know they can.
Okay, that's good information there. That's so we have a question here, and by the way, in case I don't think we mentioned it in the opening. Kevin is a Florida lawyer. He's located in West Palm Beach, so he is familiar with Governor DeSantis and this was question that's going on. So it says DeSantis and the removal of Black history in the curriculum of the state of Florida. Your thoughts?
I don't agree with the decision to strike AP African studies from any portion of the curriculum in Florida. Black history is history, and it is a problem when you begin to erase where we came from, because in order to get where we need to go, you build on that history. The confidence that people develop from knowing who their ancestors were and what their accomplishments were speaks volumes when it comes to building us up. The history that Blacks enjoy, or that Blacks have contributed to our country, is enormous. And if it were published and folks knew all the stuff that Black people are responsible for, man, I tell you, it would fill up an entire library. Every time I have this discussion with people, someone tells me something else. Hey, listen, Black people discovered self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. In other words, scuba. Or, did you know that Black people, we made the soles in shoes? They got tired of walking around barefoot. I'm hearing this stuff, man. And not just things that are mechanical in nature. They came up with medical inventions. Black people came up with techniques that we use all over the world. And to snub that out and to make it meaningless is to make me meaningless. And it's to make people who look like me meaningless. I have meaning. I have purpose. And people who look like me have meaning and purpose. So what I think about DeSantis or the Department of Education in Florida not honoring Black history, not much.
Okay. So back to the police stop. So we've said no, that we're not consenting to search and all, and we're keeping our cool. You think that will get us out of the situation?
It may not.
It may not.
It may not, because if there is a reason to search your vehicle or a reason to arrest you, for example, if they stop you and you have a warrant, you're going to jail. All right. So,
well, we're talking about somebody that hasn't done anything at all, don't have warrants, nothing. Because like you said, driving while Black, you can be stopped and then pull out, and you could be a retired Air Force veteran, they still stopping you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so,
Well, and your question is if you repeat your question, Gerald?
So if you're in that situation, you're cooperating, but you don't consent to search. What else can they do? Let's say can they just take you in at that point?
They can't just take you because you don't agree to the search. That's not to say that you won't be taken.
Right.
The main thing that you're concentrating on is escaping that situation unharmed and able to get to a guy like me.
Okay.
You're never going to win on the side of the road. It's never going to happen. So if they want to arrest you, what are you going to do? Run? You're just going to make matters worse. No, you don't cooperate. In other words, don't consent. Now, I'm not saying get violent, and I'm not saying, run away or anything like that, but you want to get away unharmed. You want to not consent. And if you can, you want to try to get something recorded. So no, don't take your phone out and shove it in their face or anything like that. But man, you press the record button. Keep it in and just listen to what's happening later and try to get to a guy like me, a civil rights attorney or a police liability attorney, to deal with it on the back end.
Okay. So I remember when I was stationed in California, I worked for the Area Defense Council. And one of the things we used to always try to tell people is do not make any statements.
Right.
Don't listen to the police when they tell you, oh, if you talk to us, we'll talk to the DA or we'll talk to the SJ and get you a deal, And we always used to tell people, don't make statements. I'm guessing that's will apply to this situation as well. Keep your mouth shut and don't make statements, right?
That's right. Anything that you say is probably going to be harmful. And if the intention of the police officer is to arrest you, you're not going to change his or her mind. So just keep your mouth shut. And Gerald mentioned the Area Defense Council. And for those who don't know, that is the criminal defense component in the Air Force. And a lawyer is handpicked from the main legal office, along with a paralegal, to run that office for airmen who happen to make some bad choices. Let's just say that. And Gerald worked in that capacity, and so did I, actually, when we were on active duty together in the Air Force.
Yeah, and that was always a big thing. People just start talking.
Yeah.
Don't talk.
Don't talk. Don't talk. Don't agree. Don't try to tell your side of the story. Just and don't get on the phone and while you're there with them, telling like your parents or your loved one what happened and why it shouldn't have happened, because you're making an admission in the presence of the police officer.
Right.
So you're trapped shut.
Right. So police liability attorneys, are there a number of them? Because I mean, you're in West Palm Beach, so we have viewers from all over the country. So is it likely that people like you can represent people, and there's someone in every state? I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
Yes. The police liability is a subspecialty of civil law, and it's personal injury lawyers practice in this area all the time. When there are wrongful death cases, i.e. a shooting, or if someone is arrested wrongfully, personal injury lawyers do this type of law, but not exclusively. So if you go to a personal injury lawyer and you tell them what has happened, either they will take the case or they would refer you to a lawyer like me who primarily practices in the area. Now, it's not as lucrative, so you're not going to find a whole community of us. And in addition, it is an area of the law that lawyers are kind of afraid to practice in some aspects because of retaliation. You're suing cops, and they're riding around. These same cops know you. They have your address. And prosecutors know it. So it has its risks. I'll say that. So we're not as plentiful as an ambulance case, so to speak.
Okay. But there are people out there that will take people's cases. So
yes,
that's good to know. So basically, to just kind of summarize, cooperate with the police, don't consent to searches, and don't make any statements.
Yes. Great summary.
Okay. So that's what we want to tell our young men today, because I'm glad you're on here tonight, because my son is getting ready to go off to college himself. So, and I'm kind of educating him on these things too, just in case he gets himself in a situation where he's in a car, either himself or with some other people. Don't try to be the big bad one and take on the police. Get out of the situation, like Kevin said, and then find somebody like Kevin to represent you down the road.
Absolutely. Good advice. Gerald, I find a lot of lawyers who want to do what I do, but they don't know how to do that. So our firm has undertaken a consultative element to it. In other words, we serve as a consultant to lawyers who aspire to do the same thing, but not kind of all the time, but they want to have that component of the law in their practice. So we will hire ourselves out to teach them how to do a portion of the police liability practice as well.
Okay. And Erica says, don't even answer no, because it's a statement.
And then Erica, as you pointed out, Erica is one of the lawyers in our office. She's been with us for over a decade, and she's a leaning post. We stay up all night. We get in the office. pre-dawn hours. I mean, we wrestle with issues, and we have been slugging for a long time together. In fact, she could do this interview, and I could just sit down and eat.
All right. Well, why don't you tell us about your offices? I know you got more than one office. You're not just in West Palm Beach, but you're in other places as well. So why don't you tell us about that?
Sure. We're in Jacksonville, Florida. We have an office there that does nothing but police liability. In addition, we're in Atlanta, Georgia. And in Atlanta, my partner, Derek Welch, he does personal injury, but I will only practice police liability there. So in West Palm Beach, we do criminal defense and police liability. So, I get around, I make my rounds all over the state of Florida, Georgia, and actually all over the United States with these issues. Okay.
So we appreciate you coming on tonight, talking to us and enlightening us on police liability. Definitely need to pass this information on to our young Black men who are going out there in colleges, military, graduating and going out into the world, because we don't want to take on the police. We don't want to argue with them and fight with them. We want to, like Kevin said, get out of the situation and then find somebody like him to represent you down the road. So, Kevin, how can people reach you if they need to get a hold of your services?
Sure. Our website is andersonandwelch.com. That's andersonandwelch.com. If you want to call us, our phone number is area code 561-832-3386.
Okay. All right. So I appreciate you coming on tonight and taking the time to enlighten us on this topic that's very well needed in our society today. So have a great evening. I appreciate you, and take care. Tell your wife I said hi.
Hey, I will. And thanks for having me on the show this evening, Gerald.
All right, Kevin. Well, that is it for this evening. I hope you enjoyed our three guests. As a summary, we talked to Vincent Moore. Make sure you check out his website and get those recipes. He's walking you through how to make some of them delicious dishes. If you want to get a hold of him, you can get a hold of him from his website, and he can probably make some arrangements to come and do some catering for you. Then we listen to the sounds of Harmony Devoe and her music career. If you haven't done so already, visit harmonydevoeofficial.com and get some of her music. That should be on your playlist. And then we close out with Kevin Anderson, who enlightened us on police liability. If you got sons and daughters even out there, make sure they get out of the situation without arguing the police. We can't say that enough. And then get somebody like Kevin to represent you. And the thing that I learned from the military the most was do not make any statements. No statements whatsoever. So our next show, we're going to have a grief counselor, Felicia Williams, will be on talking to us about grief and how to handle grief. And we'll also have Pastor Turkel Freeman, who's going to also kind of back that grief conversation up as well. And then we're going to have the musical sounds of Janelle Richardson. You don't want to miss her. I believe she sung the national anthem at a few sporting events. So she's going to bring her talents to the Lyfe Live. So we thank you all, and we hope to see you again on the Lyfe Live, which will be September 13th at 6:30. Have a good evening, everyone.
Mm-hmm.